Coverage from Super Bowl 58 and Radio Row continues here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Sarah and I are pleased to welcome in a Hall of Famer and somebody, if you follow the Ravens radio network, you know this guy's voice very, very well, and that is the Hall of Famer, Rod Woodson. Rod, thank you so much for carving out some time for us, and man, I can't think of a better perspective because you and Jerry had bird's eye view all year long, and so you get to kind of give us your perspective on what you felt like went wrong, obviously, most recently, but big picture. What do you think the takeaway should be about the 2023 Ravens?
Yeah, well, first of all, welcome to my city. This is my hometown. I didn't have to get on a plane to even talk about football. I thought the season went well. I really do. Obviously they didn't play their best game in the biggest moment. But have you seen what they did defensively and how dominant they were from day one all the way through? And you've seen the growth of Lamar Jackson with Todd Monken as the offense coordinator. Well, remember, Lamar never made a check in previous years. He never came to the line of scrimmage to look at the core, to count numbers in the box and say, oh, you're box heavy, I'm throwing it. Too high shell, I'm going to run it. That never happened. So the growth of Lamar was tremendous. I think he threw the ball way better outside the numbers. The one thing I love about what Lamar did this past year is that once he got out of the pocket, he was still looking down the field. 2 years ago, Lamar, he would have got out that pocket. He was gone. So, now he was throwing the football down the field. So it was kind of nice to see that growth with him and how comfortable he was with it. And it's kind of crazy when you look at, with Mark Andrews getting hurt. But I think it was good for the team in a bigger picture. And I say that because now Lamar couldn't rely on Mark. He was going to throw that ball to 89.
Yeah.
Right? That's his bread and butter.
Yep.
Right? He knew he could throw that ball to him. He was going to catch it. Well, he had to throw the ball to everybody. He had to distribute the football. Obviously, Zay Flowers became a really good target for him. But then OBJ, Bateman had a really good year. So, Nelson Aguilar had a good year. Likely came around. Kohler came around. All those players came around, and I think that's a growth that they can build on for next year. They didn't play their best game, but I think they got a lot of life in them. Now, my question would be, or not my question, what I'm thinking is are they going to bring OBJ back?
Yeah.
Did they bring Nelson back, right? You get Keaton Mitchell back, which is going to be critical because he just changes the makeup of the running back room and what he can do individually, when a play is called.
Yeah.
Defensively, you don't have Mike McDonald, but you still got Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
He's still there.
He's still there.
Hey,
that dude is pretty good.
Too.
Kyle Hamilton's still there.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton's still there. The guy who kind of set the bar, and I know Mike McDonald got all the credit because he was the defensive coordinator. But remember, go back to 2 years ago, before they got Roquan Smith, that defense was shaky. There's a little, you're like, phew, sometimes they were playing good, sometimes they weren't playing
Especially
good.
on the back end.
And you're like, oh, man, what is going on? As soon as he got there, I think that was week 8. I think week 9 he started.
2022, yeah.
That's when that defense started getting better and better, and they finished way higher than they were at in week 8.
Yeah.
And then this year, he just kept it going. And that's why I always say that Roquan is similar to Ray in a sense that he's a leader because he told him, hey, you're running to the ball in practice. You're going to watch more film. We're going to study together. We're going to run together. We're going to do everything together. That's what a leader is.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't really care who the defense coordinator is. That defense is going to be good because they're going to fly around to the football, and he's going to take the lead to doing that.
Yeah.
So, Rod, you had said something about Lamar. I literally just had a conversation with Steve Young, who loves Lamar. And one of his messages to me was, if this is the first full year where it was all given to Lamar, the keys, as they said when Monken first came in, his message was don't give up on him because this was his first full year of learning that. And and now it's just got to take another step in the playoffs. And when you said something at the beginning there, where you said, well, he's learning how to count who's in the box and who's not. Do you agree with Steve? It's
Absolutely.
just because this is a new thing to Lamar. Give him time to learn how to do this part of the job.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay.
You have to give players control in some capacity.
Yeah.
And players have to take ownership in some capacity. That's the only way your team can be great.
Right.
If if the coach is the offensive coordinator and he calls the plays and you got to do the play and you never get to say, it never really works. I mean, I know I didn't always see eye to eye with my defensive coordinators. And I would tell them, hey, that's a terrible call in that moment.
Right.
And this is why. And then some defense coordinators took it well, some others didn't. But I think that's the way you grow as a team. And, when I was there in 2000 and 98 all the way through to 2001, Marvin listened to us. He listened to the defensive players and saying, hey, you know what, we should do this, X, Y, Z. And he put it in, and some things probably didn't make sense to him. He kept it out. But at least he listened to us. And I think that's a valuable tool for coaches to let their players' voices be heard. They're the ones out there playing.
Right.
They got to be comfortable with it. And that's one thing I love what Todd Monken said when we first met during training camp is that we're giving him that opportunity. Now, if you put that play in, you got to make that play work. And if it don't work, don't come back to me. So, that it was good to see. And I think that it is. I do agree, going back to your first question, I do agree with Steve Young that his growth is going to keep going because now he's seen it. He's going to remember it. He's going to come back and this year and he's going to say, oh, last time I saw this look, they did this XYZ last year, so I'm going to call this.
Right.
And it's going to be better and easier for him.
So something you just spoke to was, I guess, just the awareness or the communication that happens with a coordinator in a locker room and leader of men and everything that comes with that position. All of a sudden, the second youngest coordinator in the league is in Baltimore and 31-year-old Zach Orr. I mean, it's hard to believe. I mean, he looks like he can still suit up and play. And then just listening to his press conference, I think we all know his story. And I think of faith, too. It's been cool, right? He goes, look, I didn't ask God why. I asked God what's next in terms of why his football career was lost. And since then, the guy is on such a rise right now to be a coordinator. What do you think his biggest challenge is ahead of him to the point where he's yet to call a play in his professional career as a coach?
Not knowing what he doesn't know, as calling games, as making the game plan, putting it together. Yes, he's been in the room with his coaches, but now it's on him. It's his take. It's his look. It's his vision of what he wants this defense to look like. And I would hope he doesn't get too far away, removed from what they are really good at. And the key, again, though, is that do you bring back Clowney? Do you bring back Van Noy? I'm saying, yeah. Because without those guys last year,
where was your edge?
Where was your edge rushing was at? Right? And then, do you lose Geno Stone? Right, because I think his contract's up.
Yeah.
Geno. Do you?
It's like another glue guy there.
Or do you bring him back? But he's going to get some money.
Yeah.
And I don't.
All those interceptions.
I don't blame a guy for getting his money now.
Yeah.
Or get his money.
Yeah.
But how do you bring it all back? Right, and that's same thing on offense. Do you bring back OBJ? Do you bring back Nelson Aguilar? And I think all those weapons that he had so many choices.
Yeah.
Where he wasn't locked into one or two guys. And same thing on defense. So that's I think, for going back to the first question, I think Orr is just going to have to figure out how he wants his game to look, how he wants his defense to look. And I think at the end of the day, and I saw his press conference, if they're going to be run and be physical, shoot, bro, that's what the Ravens defense is. Run and be physical. Hit people in the face.
Did you hear the way he described it? What he wants it to look like?
Yeah.
Violent execution.
Boom. Boom. It's like Roquan.
That's Raven-like right
coach.
there.
That's right.
But
That's
that's old school football.
Yeah.
That's, when you watch Agent Zero coming from the middle of the field and the running back goes to the right side and he comes over, or the corner makes the tackle, hits him, stands him up, and Agent Zero comes in and cleans him up. That's what it is. And can you execute that on a daily basis for him? That's what's going to be the question.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're flipping the page in your EDC, because you know this team as well as anybody, what are the three areas that you're all right, this is what they got to attack. This is what they got to go out and get. Where do you see, is it offensive tackle with maybe Morgan Moses being gone? Where do you want them to kind of attack to fortify this team?
They don't have a lot of holes. I don't think you got to go out and reach to get anything that you are panicking about.
Right.
I think you're solid
You got a foundation.
You got a great foundation across the board with all the different position units.
Mm-hmm.
To get those backups, that's going to be key.
Mm.
You got to listen. Is Mollett coming back? I mean, Brandon Stevens, we know he's there. He played lights out football, right? Does he have that same year the following year? The depth.
Mm.
Darby.
Darby,
yeah.
bring back Darby, who played really good football for you. So there's so many. I think it's more about making sure you have the foundation for the backups than finding a starter. Because I don't know if you need to find a starter per se.
Okay.
But you need to find somebody who's talented enough when his time is up or it's time to step up into play.
Yeah.
That they can step up and play. That's why I like veterans. Veterans, they know how to play.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Clowney move. I like the Van Noy move. Van Noy, I remember Van Noy, week 4, he was on the Pat McAfee show. And then he was a week later, he's making sacks in the game. I was like,
in London.
That's a veteran.
Yeah.
A rookie couldn't do that. A rookie couldn't be sitting on the couch and then come in and make some sacks in a game because the veteran knows how to play already.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So I felt like all the years that I covered Ray, I almost didn't even worry about who the Ravens were going to plug in next to him, which is hard to say when you know Patrick Queen is probably going to go out and get his payday. He earned it, right? Is there an effect where Roquan could have a Ray-like effect where it's like, I'm not saying just anybody can't pull Joe Schmo, but do you have more confidence because Roquan's there that the guys they put next to him that they're gonna succeed?
That's a good one. That's a really good question because I think Patrick Queen. We've seen the growth of Patrick Queen once Agent Zero got there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now the question
he was
is,
growing a little bit, but then it went skyrocket.
Yeah, he was getting better.
Yeah.
Right? He was getting better, gradually getting better,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as he got there, it
Boom.
popped. It just popped. But
so
now
freely.
the question is it and Patrick Queen's a tremendous athlete.
Yes.
It's hard to find a guy like him somewhere else
Yeah.
and say he's going to just get plugged in and he's going to play the same way.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. I wouldn't be overly worried, but you can get a second round guy. You can get a third round guy who's a really good athlete that Roquan can mentor, or maybe they got a guy there already.
Trent Simpson.
Simpson's right there, right? So you got a guy. Does he keep elevating?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the question that the coaches have to ask before they go to draft day.
Trenton balled out against your former team that regular season finale, didn't he?
He did. He played extremely well. And the question is, when you see those glimpses, can they do it again?
Yeah.
Right? And then can they do it again?
Yeah.
Then can you do it again?
Right.
And when you keep being consistent, that's when you find really good player. That's when you find greatness. But when you find guys who have ebbs and flows, it's hard to win with guys who have ebbs and flows. Not saying that Simpson's not he's going to have ebbs and flows. I'm just saying, can he be steady?
Right.
Can he keep getting better? And that's the question that the coaches have to answer before they get the free agency and draft day.
Got it.
Speaking of greatness, Kyle Hamilton's been all that more through 2 years. I mean, an all-pro guy. I mean, we had Dominique Foxworth on earlier, and I thought he did a great job of explaining what can be asked of Kyle. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything can be asked. All 3 levels, whatever you need, he's going to give it to you. He's rangy. He's versatile. He's great against the run. You can drop him back, whatever you need. 3-sack game against Indianapolis, right? I mean, he was really something else. I'll ask him the same exact thing you asked Dominique. What's his ceiling? What's Kyle's ceiling?
I think it's high. How high? That's up to Kyle, right? And you really never know. I think he plays better closer to the line of scrimmage. Yeah, he could be good if you put him in the middle of the field. But now you got one of your best athletes 15 yards away from the quarterback.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to. And you saw, like, every time he's around the line of scrimmage, he's making plays.
Yes.
He's a great tackler in space.
Yep.
To have 10 tackles for loss in space, it's not like he's blitzing and doing it.
right.
He's tackling this guy on a smoke screen.
I was going to say, any offensive coordinator that's thrown a screen his way has not been watching Kyle Hamilton. That's a bad play.
He's done a great job of tackling in space. So he's further along, and I said this multiple times in the booth, he's further along than I was when I first came into the league. I wasn't all-pro my second year. I wasn't even close.
How long did it take?
My third year, but I was a returner.
Third.
My third year, I was a Pro Bowl player my third year. But he has to keep growing, which I know he will. And then I think once he once he really figures the game out, he's going to start doing what the great players do. Show that quarterback one thing where I'm not doing it, and I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
I want you to do something that I want you to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bait you into it. And then once they do it, go make a play.
Love that. I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'll let John get in here. Zay Flowers.
Now, Zay is, man. First of all, I feel
Didn't even have to ask a question. Just said his name.
I feel terrible for him, right?
Right?
For two things. For the crazy penalty that he had.
Yeah.
And that was motions, right? That was just
Which
raw
I don't
emotions.
hate.
No, I don't hate. It's just
You got to
can't-
control it, but
you can't
yeah.
get emotionally hijacked.
yeah.
Right? That's what we always say in the locker room. Don't get emotionally hijacked inside of the game.
Mhm.
Things happen. Take it in stride.
Mhm.
And then you got to remember that same play. So that ball gets moved back 15 yards, right?
Mhm.
They flip fields.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Instead of him catching the ball in the end zone or closer to, now he's further back. Now he's trying to get to the end zone. The ball gets punched out. If he doesn't make that play, if he doesn't get that penalty against him, he's in the end zone.
Right.
So
Right,
it's a combination. So players sometimes have to look at themselves and say, what did I do?
Mhm.
Why did I do it? Don't ever do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
But to watch this little dude play, he is fun. I mean, joystick, that's what we call him. Joystick is
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because he stops on a dime.
Yeah.
And everybody just, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you see grown men, the
On
best
skis.
athletes in the way in the world, just going right by him. I mean, he
Yeah.
is fun to watch. He's going to be so good. You know what I love about him? He's not that big, but he plays big.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
That's
sturdiness.
the difference.
Yes.
That's the difference between a big player who can play small or a small player who can play big. I
Yeah.
want a
Yes.
small player that can play big. I don't want no big player that plays small.
Yes.
Is
And that's
he
what he
is he
does.
Pro Bowl bound eventually?
Yeah.
He's got to be, right?
I think he is. I think he is. Because keep giving him the ball in space.
yeah.
Keep finding it. And Lamar delivered the footballs. A couple of deep balls Lamar probably threw under him, and a couple of deep balls he should have caught he didn't catch.
Mm.
That's it. He's a kid. He's
Yeah.
young. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, my rookie year, oh man, I was getting crushed. I was getting ran by. They're like, in today's football, they would say, "Oh, he's a bust."
Yeah.
He's a bust. He just got beat 5 times.
Yeah.
And but now because we want these young kids to be great year 1,
Right.
year 2. I always say, give them 3 years, let them see. The problem is we don't give coaches 3 years, right? So they feel panicky. They don't even give their players time to
Yeah.
grow, and that's what's kind of scary. But the great thing is in Baltimore, you got a great leader in John Harbaugh.
Yep.
He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So he can take his time with his players and let them develop.
Before we bring John in, can I ask
Okay.
once just because the
Sure.
Harbaugh thing was just brought up, and I feel like we'd be remiss to not ask you about this, being that this week was about the reports of bringing Jerry Rosberg back to potentially serve a game management role, and then it didn't come to be, and a deal wasn't reached. What I wanted to bring up to you was, do you think that there's a room for improvement in that category from John Harbaugh's vantage point?
I think there's always room for improvement. I don't think you should ever be satisfied. As a coach, you got to look at yourself and go, where were we? Where were we strong? Where were we weak? How can we improve? How can we make our team stronger from the coaching standpoint to the player standpoint?
Yeah.
So it's always room for improvement. I don't think you should ever be satisfied with that.
Fair. John, thank you for your patience.
Of course, I could listen to this all day long. By the way,
Well,
I mean,
you had a chance to do that all day long.
I
right?
have, and I'm a better person, and because of it, leader, mentor, role model. His actions back up his words, and he's invested in what we're trying to do and do together. And I've had an amazing day with him. So thank you.
Perfect segue to start talking about why Rod is here and a worthy cause at that. So what do you guys have going on?
Yeah, so I'm with the Drug Enforcement Administration, and we're here today at the biggest venue in the world right now to talk about something that's a little more serious. We're losing so many Americans to fentanyl, and we have this One Pill Can Kill campaign where we want people to understand just how deadly these pills can be and how deadly these drugs like fentanyl are, okay? 7 out of 10 pills that DEA seizes right now contains a deadly dose of fentanyl, and we seized 78 million of them last year. That's just what we seized. We lost 112,000 Americans to drug poisoning deaths of drug overdose deaths last year alone. So this is why it's so critical that we're getting this one pill can kill message out there. We need to educate people. And it only takes a small amount of fentanyl, just enough to fit on the tip of a pencil. It's about 2 milligrams, enough to kill somebody. And we need people to get out there and just start talking about it. We can't have our children fall victim to this. Kids going on social media thinking they're buying a pharmaceutical grade pill, only to find out that, first of all, you cannot buy a pharmaceutical pill on social media. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And what you do get on social media is fake, and it's made with fentanyl, and it can be deadly. So we need to get that message out there. And having somebody like Hall of Famer Rod Woodson and partnering with the NFL Alumni Association, who are getting behind this cause and being able to be at an event like this and join great people like you, talk a little bit of football, which means a lot to me, but also talk about just how important this message out there. And for everybody that's listening to hear this, that maybe they'll think about it a little bit. Maybe they'll have that conversation with their own family, or a team that they're coaching, young kids, or a school, a community group, a church, and maybe they'll go on DEA.gov and learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask before we close. Other than spreading awareness, other than going there, how can folks help out?
Yeah, if they go to DEA.gov/1pill, we have all kinds of materials up there. The most important thing to understand is just how deadly this drug is. It's a game changer. It's a synthetic-based drug, so they don't have to worry about plant and growing cycles anymore. They're just mass producing it, and it's ending up in all of our communities. It's ending up in our schools right now, and we have to make a difference. And the way we're going to do that is by having these conversations, and that's why today has been so important for us at DEA, and to partner with somebody like Rod has just been amazing.
Well, we're proud to share a few minutes with you, and thank you for what you do with that initiative. And Rod, always good to see you, my friend. I know Baltimore is going to appreciate it. And so for my co-host, Sarah Ellison, Rod, and John, I'm Bobby signing off here from Radio Row. Super Bowl 58 is right around the corner. More coverage on the other side of this.